live. Aha, and we're live. There we go. We've been spinning around in a circle and going live according to YouTube for a wee bit there. But now we're actually live. Hello. My name's Doc Sloan. We're just popping on a wee minute early as usual. I think everything's working okay. I think we've got a green light on our microphone and the picture's looking all right. Connection's looking okay, which is a nice first. So if anybody's out there, say hello and we'll get going at 10 o'clock. I just realised I've spelt something sticky, probably honey, on the table. But we've it cleared up there just in the nick of time. So over here, it's 10 o'clock. So I'll say hello. Thanks very much for joining me. My name is Doc Sloan. Welcome to the Dog. This is our Children of Dune book club, chapter 12. I have a wandering noodles under my feet here just at the minute. Well, I think she might. Where is she? You want out, noodles? Bear with me a wee second, folks. Off you go. Go on. Good girl. Guess she wants to be somewhere else. Pardon me. So hello everyone. If anybody's out there, say hello. We're managing to get on tonight on time for once. And it's quite a nice evening here, but it's very, very cool. And tonight we're going to hit chapter 12, which I think I've called A Ritual of Manhood and Murder. And it's a very, very short chapter. Let's just get this down here. And I suppose it has and moving on from the previous chapter, where we had references in character names to a number of demons from who are mentioned in various books of demonology over the years that Frank's managed to sort of bring that into. We're going to get more talk of demons here. We're going to get, I suppose, the mention of the Jacurutu myth, etc., and a few other things. Pardon me. So it's a very short chapter. It's quite brutal in some ways. And I suppose we learn a bit about, not quite a lot, to be honest with you, but we learn a bit about what's going on with these Jacurutu people. I think one of the interesting things in the book, one of the interesting things in the book here is that everybody seems to know the story of Jacurutu, except for us. So it's a great way of keeping your reader in suspense, and I think we get a good wee bit of that. It's been going on for a wee bit now. Not that old story, this kind of thing. Surely not Jacurutu. Who would have believed that? This kind of thing. Pardon me. We're going to get a little bit of affirmation about the Jacurutu story, and I suppose we're going to get a sense of the character of Muriz and what it turns out his son is Assan Tariq. And of course, this is the boy that's been escorting the preacher. So there's a little interesting stuff here, a little bit of ritualistic murder, to be honest with you. Pardon me. And I suppose, I don't know, we can look at this in a number of different ways, I think. But the opening epigraph is from the Missionaria Protectiva, if you like. Part of that the Bene Gesserit branch, if you like, the branch from their school that's into religious manipulation for the benefit of their sisterhood, if you like. And it's an interesting little epigraph. There's somebody saying, hi, Doc. Julian Thompson saying, hey, folks. Hello, folks. How are you? It's good to have you here. I'm running with this wee one again a bit quick. Still not 100%, myself, but I'm off again for more dental work tomorrow. We're just having an absolutely crazy time in terms of life being hectic here at the minute, folks. But I hope it's treating you guys a lot better. Pardon me. There's Bojack Harkness saying hi there, all. Hi, Bojack. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm kind of enjoying these short little chapters by Frank. I think they're quite punchy. And they move the pace of the story on a little bit in different ways than we're used to with I think, his work. Something like this as well kind of gives me a little bit of a breather in terms of getting the work done, I suppose. But saying that, I have a couple of mysteries, I suppose, within this chapter, and ultimately I think we're going to get the mention of Kralzek soon here, which is going to be our kind of main motivator. It's almost our literary MacGuffin, if you like. along with things like, I suppose, the Golden Path within the Dune series. So let's have a wee quick look at it. First of all, epigraph is our 12th epigraph. I've called it A Ritual of Manhood and Murder. There are illusions of popular history which a successful religion must promote. And here they are. Evil men never prosper. Only the brave deserve the fair. Honesty is the best policy. Actions speak louder than words. Pardon me. Virtue always triumphs. Its own reward. Any bad human can be reformed. Religious talismans protect one from demonic possession. Only females understand the ancient mysteries, and the rich are doomed to unhappiness. And we're told that this is from the instructive manual, Missionaria Protectiva. Now, I think it's a very interesting little set of statements. We're told that these are illusions of popular history. Not only that, but these are illusions that successful religion must promote. And it doesn't say why. And so I was wondering, in terms of the religious aspect of an institutional religion, do they promote these things because, according to popular history, this is what popular belief is? And I wasn't too sure. I get the idea of it, but I've decided to run the question myself. I was wondering, do people in general believe these things that a successful religion must promote? Do religious people believe these things? And then I suppose the question was, do I believe them? And I've written my answers above. So here we go. Evil men never prosper. No, I don't believe that. Of the fair. No, I've written next to that. I don't believe that either. Honesty is the best policy. I've written yes next to that. That's a personal opinion. Actions speak louder than words. I've yes and no. Depends on what they are. Virtue always triumphs. I've written no. A good deed is its own reward. God no. Any bad human can be reformed, and I've kind of written the personal answer to those questions. Some of them are absolute. For example, evil men never prosper. This kind of thing. But you get the idea that they're kind of, you can understand why some of these ideas, I suppose, religion would like to promote them. I suppose some of them speak to the unfairness of life, don't they? I suppose in terms of what's going to happen within this chapter, we have a religion at work. Probably we're going to see, I suppose, evil men prosper in that sense, virtue not triumphing, etc. And we've got some stuff about demonic possession here as well. It's an interesting wee chapter. There's Carlos Cosella saying, "Hey everybody, hi Carlos, thank you very much for joining us. We're just about to get teared into it, Carlos. So here we go, I suppose. So let's just get my copy of the book open. We've got a few problems with the text here again, folks. By the way, let me just see. And I think we're going to have a few of these within this book. Let me just check. Right, okay, doke. Yes, right off the bat, I am called Muriz, semicolon, the leathery Fremen said. So I have no closed punctuation mark, and I have an unnecessary semicolon, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be a punctuation, a closed speech punctuation mark. Pardon me. So we have Muriz. Now, the leathery Fremen says, so I just wrote, what the fuck? Excuse my French. WTF next to that. But that's what I'm wondering if it's in anybody else's copies. I am called Muriz. I have comma, semicolon, instead of comma, close quotation mark. So Muriz, I believe, is an Arabic name, and I couldn't get much in terms of meaning on it. But if you say it the way I might be pronouncing it, which is a bit like Muriz, that's actually the word for mouse. That's the genitive form of moose. which is the Latin word for mouse, which I thought was kind of interesting. He's almost like possibly an anti-Muad'Dib in that sense. But if anybody's got anything else on Muriz, I didn't get anything at all really. But I just thought it was curious that his name meant, if that is a version, just like Frank changes a letter sometimes here and there, that it's a word that also means mouse, a bit like Muad'Dib being the kangaroo mouse. Carlos is saying, I believe it's voodoo that believes good and evil, or light and dark, are equal and opposite forces. That always made more sense to me. Like, yeah, I got it there, Carlos. So they say I am called Muriz, quotation mark. Yeah, another. Thank you, Cynthia. That's another wee mistake in my copy. Let's see if you can see it. Let's see. Oh, but I've circled it there. Oh, it's probably not going to get in focus. It's too close. There you go. Just in case you are wondering. I should do that more often with those, actually. Let's see. The camera's pretty good. It can focus there. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Yeah, just another little mistake. But there we go. I am called Muriz, the leathery Fremen set. What we're going to get is a nice little setup of atmosphere from Frank here. Excuse me a second. There we go. We're going to get light. We're going to get sounds. We're going to get smells here. So we're told this Muriz that he sat on a cavern rock in the glow of a spice lamp, whose fluttering light revealed damp walls and dark holes, which were passages from this place. Sounds of dripping water could be heard down one of those passages, and although water sounds were essential to the Fremen paradise, the 6 bound men facing Muriz took no pleasure from the rhythmic dripping. So I've kind of done a wee sort of doodle of this, if you like. There are little caves up here, just to get a sense of it, our dripping noises, and we've got these guys all down here, etc., etc. Just be sort of visual things for me to pick up on, I suppose. But it's interesting, some of the water stuff here. The water sounds are essential to the Fremen paradise. I thought was very, very interesting. All it's just that's part of the dream, isn't it? The sound of water is something that they would love. But these 6 bound men were told take no pleasure in the rhythmic dripping of it. So we've got this fluttering light reflecting and patches of darkness, if you like, and the sound of water dripping. And then we're told there was the musty smell to go with it of a death still in the chamber. The old death still, if you like. That's a good word there that that says it all, doesn't it? Just that death is coming. So we have 6 men basically tied up in a room with Muriz at this point, and it's kind of we've got illuminated by a spice lamp. By the way, I suppose we're getting another use for the spice here. And we're told that a youth of perhaps 14 standard years came out of the passage and stood at Muriz's left hand. An unsheathed crysknife reflected pale yellow from the spice lamp as the youth lifted the blade and pointed it briefly at each of the bound men. So I've written next to this is ceremonial. And we're told this is Muriz now. With a gesture toward the youth, Muriz said, "This is my son, Assan Tariq, who is about to undergo his test of manhood." And of course, Assan Tariq is the name. We know this name. This is the preacher's guide. This is the boy that's acting as a guide, basically, to the blind preacher, who, from what we can guess by now, is most likely, there's a good chance it's Paul Muad'Dib. So interesting that his father's name might mean mouse, and the man that he's escorting is also his name also is a type of mouse. So a test of manhood, ritual ceremony. The youth lifted the blade and pointed it briefly at each of the bound men. And with a gesture towards the youth, Muriz said, "This is my son, Assan Tariq, who is about to go his test of manhood." Muriz cleared his throat, stared once at each of the 6 captives. They sat in a loose semicircle across from him, tightly restrained with spice fiber ropes, which held their legs crossed, their hands behind them. The bindings terminated in a tight noose at each man's throat. Their still suits have been cut away at the neck. So I suppose, yes, we've got spice fiber rope here. We've got spice lamps. And again, just the use of the uses of spice, etc. Quite interesting here. So the bound men stared without. Two of them wore loose off, which marked them as wealthy residents of an Arakeen city. These two had skin which was smoother, lighter than that of their companions, whose sere features and bony frames marked them as desert-born. So I was saying sort of skin and clothing, I think, is a thing to pay attention to within this book. But that they're soft skin. In fact, we're going to be referring to this character as what was that I've called them? So I've just made a wee sort of SFC. I've called them the soft-featured city dweller. But two have skin which is smoother, lighter than that of the companions, whose sere features, sere is a good word, dry or withered, and bony frames mark them as desert-born. So we're told Muriz resembled the desert dwellers, but his eyes were more deeply sunken, whiteless pits which not even the glow of the spice lamp touched. His son appeared an unformed. Apologies, that's the highlighter's taking a wee bit. Let me just make that easier to read. All right. Obvious you. There we go. Let me just read that again. His son appeared an unformed copy of the man, with a flatness of face which did not quite hide the turmoil within him. So we can probably imagine why if we get to it in a wee bit. So, among the cast out, we have a special test for manhood, Muriz said. One day my son will be a judge in Shuloch. We must know that he can act as he must. Our judges cannot forget Jacurutu and one day of despair. Kralazek, the typhoon struggle, lives in our hearts. It was all spoken with the flat intonation of ritual. So we've got lots of stuff there, and I suppose, hey, this is where it all... Here we go. It's going to go on with the God Emperor, I suppose, isn't it, with the Kralazek, the typhoon struggle. We have Shuloch, we have the cast out, and we have Jacurutu, I suppose. We should probably dedicate this episode to Jacurutu.com, shouldn't we? The cast out. This is where they take their name from. Great resource for anybody who wants to check. Some of these words might be sort of worth checking out on the discussion boards as well. It sounds very similar to it's Kralazek, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is a Turkish word for queen. Something like that. I think is an alternate name possibly for Jacurutu. Might not be too sure about that. Jacurutu, we know, we've got a South American myth, which is basically a cannibalism myth in that sense. And we had a wee look at it a couple of episodes back. I've got a wee copy of it here on the desk. So just in terms of the etymology of some of these things, of course, the Jacurutu kind of lends itself to a type of owl, I believe. But apart from that, I haven't really got much, except, of course, the reference to the Kralazek being a typhoon struggle. I suppose a very, very powerful weather pattern within possibly some kind of Fremen metaphor there. I'm not too sure about it. I thought actually when I hit this stuff, it would be easier to figure out. It would be quite, it wouldn't be bothersome to finding out what these words, pardon me, where they come from. So if anybody's got any ideas, I'm all ears, folks. Oh, hang on, let me just check. Cynthia said my text did not quite hide the turmoil boiling within him. Did not quite hide. Let's see. Within did not quite hide the turmoil. Let's see. Did not quite hide the turmoil boiling. The word boiling adds more sensory images here. Heat and. Hang on, have I lost a word? Cynthia, bear with me. Let me just check that here. That's number 7. All right. That's what have my copy lost the word. Let's see. His son appeared an unformed copy of the man with a flatness of face which did not quite hide the turmoil. All right. Oh, it's my fault. Actually, that's my mistake. I've dropped a word here, Cynthia. Thank you very much. I've left out the word. It was did not quite hide the turmoil boiling within him. Thank you very much. That's one of my mistakes. Boiling within him. Thank you. Keeping me honest. Excellent. Pardon me. Carlos is saying the folk of Jacurutu flout religious as well as social and moral strictures. They're all loyal only to themselves. Yeah, it seems that whatever it was that they did before, I suppose their crime being water stealers, weren't they? The whole idea of religion and law being linked up, I suppose, is most ably demonstrated through the Fremen. And even how the ecology of Arrakis has affected their religion, if you like, that it's all linked into their life. And that if they're water stealers, that as we're told, there's Fremen, if a drowning, they wouldn't touch this water package and this kind of thing. And the level of discipline that a people must have in that sense to live in such a water scarce environment and have all this water there and literally not touch it and to have that trust. So that you can see that the crime isn't it, and that's the thing, isn't it, with the Fremen, is that the crime is equated, and particularly with religion and law going hand in hand, is that crime is equated with sin, isn't it? They're cast out, they've been ostracized, they've been cast out, they've been exiled, I suppose, is probably the main thing. And it looks like if we can piece together the story of Jacurutu, is that for this crime, the other Fremen got together and went for a night of genocide, basically, and tried to completely wipe them out. That's kind of what the gist I get from what we can piece together from Muriz and Assan Tariq, But among the cast out, we have a special test for manhood. Muriz said, I've actually, sorry, just as I was reading this again, I've asked the question, and I'm wondering, is this a result of a Bene Gesserit missionaria protectiva religious manipulation? This test for manhood. One day my son will be a judge in Shuloch. We'll find out that Shuloch is where we're at here. This is the location. We must know that he can act as he must. Our judges cannot forget Jacurutu and one day of despair. So this one day of despair, whatever that was, that's kind of I'm taking as the day they tried to wipe them out. Kralazek, the typhoon struggle, lives in our hearts. And is it possibly just their struggle to survive? I've written up here, Kralazek is the foggy MacGuffin at the end of time. Because I was thinking about the word fog for some reason. But anyway, there we go. Shuloch, Jacurutu, Kralazek, 3 terms. The Jacurutu we've got stuff on, I suppose, but as for the others, I'm not too sure. As I said, I've got a word that's very similar to it. It's a Kraliçe, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Turkish for the word queen. Darkness. What's this? Arafel. I suppose is another term that we're going to hear for it, isn't it? Which means fog. That's why. The later clouded darkness at the end of the universe. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'll keep a wee sort of work on it. Keep working on it and see what I can find out, actually, folks. But if anybody's got any ideas, I'm all ears. On if you know anything about these three words, Shuloch, Jacurutu, and Kralazak. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. you know, but yes, indeed. So here we go. One of the soft-featured city dwellers, across from Muriz, stirred and said, "You do wrong to threaten us and bind us captive. We came peacefully on Uma." Now, Uma, I suppose, let me just grab a copy of Dune. I wonder was that. We're getting a good few terms in this chapter as well. It's a very brief chapter. Uma is, in the terminology of the Imperium, it says it's one of the Brotherhood of Prophets. We've talked about this word before, way back. I think a term of scorn in the Imperium, meaning any wild person given to fanatical prediction. But in Arabic, is refers to, I suppose, the people, the community, if you like, the Islamic community, I believe. All the people as a community. So, Muriz, I get the sense that the Uma in this case, bind his captives and give them the fanatical prediction. But in a sense that we're part of the same brotherhood is what I kind of got from that. The soft-featured man. Muriz nodded. Said, "You came in search of personal religious awakening. Good, you shall have that awakening." The soft-featured man said, "If we," and beside him, a darker desert Fremen snapped, "Be silent, fool. These are the water stealers. These are the ones we thought we'd wiped out." So that's kind of my evidence for this. And I think that's the day that the Fremen tried to wipe these guys out. I think that was the day of despair. Our judges cannot forget Jacurutu and one day of despair. And the Jacurutu and the one day of despair, they're not the same thing there. But it's a forbidden siege, really, isn't it? As the Jacurutu is referring to a siege here, as far as I can remember. I might be wrong. Here we go again. By the way, this is what we were talking about building suspense with the reader, etc. Be silent, fool. They're the water stealers. These are the ones we thought we'd wiped out. And of course, this soft-faced captive, if you like, says, that old story, the soft-featured captive said. So again, I know it's just another example of that one. What is it? Oh, is this the place? It's everybody seems to know all about Jacurutu. It seems to be a popular story, or not popular in terms of, but it's certainly something that's entered the popular consciousness and that has drifted beyond Arrakis as well. So it must be something pretty bad. I get the sense of cannibalism, drinking blood and taking water, that kind of stuff. I'm not 100% sure. Again, I haven't read on too far. In fact, I haven't really read on ahead much from this point. So that old story, the soft-featured captive said, we get a bit of this here. This is Muriz saying, Jacurutu is more than a story, Muriz said. Once more, he gestured to his son. I have presented Assan Tariq. I am Arifa in this place, your only judge. My son, too, will be trained to detect demons. The old ways are the best. And interestingly enough, in this, we're going to see two different sets of the old ways, if you like. We'll have the Muriz and Assan Tariq's idea of whatever these old ways are. And we'll also have the darker-skinned captives who are desert-born. They kind of respond differently to their execution than the soft-featured city dwellers, if you like. They kind of respond in the old ways too, if you like. The Arifa is again with an Urdu and Arabic meanings knowing, wise, experienced, and is also as far as I know, a believer and lover of Allah. In terms of a name, that's what the name means: believer, lover of Allah. Urdu and Arabic, the word can mean knowing, wise, experienced. I think again we've probably mentioned it before, way back. So that sort of makes it again in terms of like a judge, if you like. I am Arifa in this place, your only judge. My son too will be trained to detect demons. The old ways are the best. Of course, depends on if you believe in demons or not. demon, I suppose, word, isn't it? But EMON is how you would say the good spirit, if you like. So it's an interesting word. But yeah, we have this belief in demons here. There's Joseph Smith saying, I'll catch up later tonight at work at the moment, but in here in spirit. No worries, Joseph. Thanks for dropping in quickly. Hope you're keeping well. So our soft-featured, soft-faced captive, if you like, it says, that's, I get trying to sort of reason with him here. That's why we came into the deep desert. The soft-featured man protested. We chose the old way, wandering in, and Muriz interrupts him here, with paid guides, Muriz said, gesturing to the darker captives. You should buy your way into heaven. Sorry, you would buy your way into heaven? And Muriz glanced up at his son. Assan, are you prepared? So it's an interesting thing. I don't know that anybody who's wandering into some kind of unknown deep dark region of heart of darkness, this kind of thing, that generally you would want a guide, and it wouldn't. But this is seen as some kind of an affront here, I think, by Muriz, perhaps. Would you buy your way into heaven? I wonder what whether he thinks these people are going to heaven or not. I don't know. Again, the cast out, there's possibly a sense that these guys perhaps think they're damned or something. I don't know. Muriz goes, Assan, are you prepared? Now, I think before, folks, I said I think I'd had a look at Assan Tariq's name and didn't find much recently when his name was first mentioned. And that'll be with the preacher, I think. I'll have to have a wee nosy book back in my notes, but I was pretty sure I didn't get too much on him. But in terms of his name, I did get some stuff this time. One of them is doubtful, but I have Assan being an Irish name that means waterfall. But in Arabic, Assan can mean easy, simple, or smooth. And we have Tariq, I suppose, in Arabic means to strike, or striker, if you like. In Hindi, the same name means easy. Same word means easy. And I quite like this one, actually. Tariq in classical Arabic means a visitor at night. And I was looking this word up actually and going, that's an interesting thing. So it means a visitor at night, but what does that mean actually? And it was discussing the fact that it mentioned the fact, sorry, that apparently in Arabic countries with the heat, that often when you visited other people's houses, it was at night. And so that in the sense that a visitor at night is a person who strikes the door. Does that make sense? At night to come in. Within the Arabic, the word does mean to strike or striker. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And in the Quran, apparently the word Tariq refers to a brilliant star at night. And that, again, like in the classical Arabic sense, a visitor at night, if you like. So that's an interesting little bit of etymology, and I'm sure there's more to it than what I've found there, actually. But I'll have another wee look at it, perhaps. But we've got it's something anyway. that Frank tends to choose his character names very, very carefully. I think the last chapter, by the way, is absolute proof of that. Where we have two characters and one institution in the previous chapter, all with names from certain books of demonology. In fact, we could get all of those demons in one particular book, is where I got all the sigils from, which is the book of Goetia, if I'm pronouncing it that correctly, of Solomon the King. Goetia is like another old name, but like Mancy, isn't it, for magic? Now, let's see. So, are you prepared? And again, here we go. This is, and I think this is all part of the ritual leading up to the human sacrifice here. This is to do with old feuds. This is to do with revenge. I think this is to do with an incident in Fremen history. Assan says this: I have reflected long upon that night when men came and murdered our people. Assan said. His voice projected an uneasy straining. And again, as we were pointing out earlier when I missed the word boiling, the word boiling adds more sensory images here, heat and fluids. Yes, indeed. I had totally forgot to write the word down. Yeah, he's you get the sense that he's not quite sure of what he's about to do. But again, this is a test of manhood, isn't it? I suppose you're probably supposed to be a bit nervous about it, but it's a hell of a test of manhood, isn't it? I've reflected long upon that night when men came and murdered our people, Assan said, his voice projected an uneasy straining. They owe us water, which is, I suppose, is a euphemism, Fremen, meaning they owe us their lives. They owe us lives. Your father gives you 6 of them, Muriz said. Their water is ours. Their shades will warn you of demons. They will be your slaves when you cross over into the Amal al-Maithal. What do you say, my son? I thank my father, Assan said. He took a short step forward. I accept manhood among the cast out. This water is our water. And again, we have the Alam al-Maithal there, which we hear a fair bit. Again, within the terminology of Dune, is the mystical world of similitudes where all physical limitations are removed. So, goodness gracious, I get some fluids, folks. You may have already mentioned this, but could Arifa be related to the word Marifa, experience of God in Sufism? See article in Wikipedia. Let's have a look. Where did I find that? Hang on, I might have scribbled this at the back of it. Arifa. Bear with me, let me see. There it is. Arifa in this place. Arifa, believer, Lord of Allah, earlier in Arabic, knowing wise, experienced. Could it be related to Marifa? Let's have a look. And what does that mean? That means experience of God in Sufism. Pardon me. I did think that it was with the knowing, wise, experienced work, because that's what made him a judge. But I have not looked up this word, Cynthia, so I didn't hit my research, but I will look it up and investigate further. In fact, I'll probably have a wee quick nosy at it now, but I'll just scribble that in. I'm going to dump this at the back here. Hang on. I'll look for next week. Just if I ever do find stuff like this, I like to update the notes at the end of each chapter, if you see what I mean. Rifa. Do you know something? There's a Judge Dredd story, and it has a is it La Placa Rifa, something like that. And I've never understood what the term meant. It's one of those things. I must have a look at that sometime. It was an interesting story. Let's have a wee look at that. Can I copy that there? Let's see. Did you? Oh, just a bit of it. Hang on. Bear with me a wee second just to have a look. Okay. Aha. Let's have a look. In Sufism, Marifa. I think I did. Sorry, I've jumped forward ahead again. Let me just get back to the passage. There it is. Marifa. Yes. In Sufism, Marifa, which means experiential knowledge or gnosis, is the mystical understanding of God or divine reality. It has been described as an immediate recognition and understanding of the true nature of things as they are. It encompasses a deep understanding of the ultimate truth, which is essentially God, and extends to the comprehension of all things in their connection to God. Sufi mystics attain Marifa by embarking on a spiritual spiritual journey, typically consisting of various stages referred to as stations and states. In the state of Marifa, the mystic transcends the temptations of the self and is absorbed in God, experiencing a sense of alienation from their own self I've got zero references on all of that. The term Arif Gnostic has been used to designate advanced mystics who have attained the spiritual station of Marifa. Well, Gnostic's Greek for knowledge, isn't it, really? So what we've got is knowing, wise, experience. Yeah, the term as it's being used here, that would make sense. There we go, something with a reference. Hang on. Central tenet of Sufism that embodies the notions of gnosis or experiential knowledge. It is considered the ultimate pinnacle of the spiritual path. Sufism, the supreme aspiration of human existence, is the realization of truth, which is synonymous with reality and represents the origin of all existence. By attaining this truth, individuals are set free, emancipated from the entanglements of ignorance. R.W.J. Austin describes Marifa as an immediate recognition and grasp, not of something new or strange, but rather of the state and status of things as they really are, having always been and eternally will be. In essence, Marifa involves recognizing that oneself is intricately connected to and an essential aspect of the divine reality. There you go. That's quite interesting. We got more stuff there. Yeah, it sounds a very. In all honesty, it's probably etymologically. What have we got there? Element stuff. We've had a look at that before, haven't we? It's like knowledge gained through learning and akko. Yeah, so experiential knowledge. Thank you. Sorry, I'll put yes, indeed. That it totally fits there. I imagine that the two phrases are very much connected. And they're connected to gnosis, aren't they? That sense of gnosis, experiential. I'll scribble that in. Experiential knowledge. Wisdom through experience. Yes, indeed. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Anybody wants to check that? There's looking at the wee Wikipedia article there. There's a good bit more to it by the looks of it. Marifa is often considered one of the four doors of Sufism, it says. Sharia is the legal path. Tariqa is the methodical esoteric path. Hakika is the mystical truth and verity, and Marifa is the mystical knowledge and awareness, mysticism. A metaphor to explain the meaning of Marifa involves pearl gathering. That's interesting. Sharia is the boat. Tariqa is represented by the pearl gatherers rowing and diving. Hakika is the pearl, and Marifa is the gift to see the true pearl perpetually. Yeah, I've been trying to get a bit more knowledge into Sufism. Yeah, that's pretty good. If you scroll down the Wikipedia page, one of the four is Tariqa. Tariqa is the source of the boy's name, Tariq. Yeah, aha. Tariqa. Oh, here we go. More stuff. Thank you. Is a religious order of Sufism, or specifically a concept for the mystical teaching and spiritual practices of such an order with the aim of seeking hakika, which translates as ultimate truth. Tariqa has a murshid, a guide, who plays the role of a leader or spiritual director. The members or followers of a tariqa are known as muridin, singular is murid, meaning desirous, desiring the knowledge of God and loving God, also called a fakir. Tariqa is also believed to be the same as Zadok of Judaism, meaning the rightly guided one. Zadok is a title in Judaism and people considered righteous, such as biblical figures and later spiritual masters. The root of the word Sadiq is SDQ, which means justice or righteousness when applied to a righteous woman. The term is reflected as Zadok. Wow. Oh, don't you just love words? That's interesting. I'm gonna open up a page on Tariq here. Hang on. Tariq. That was the. Yeah, I scribble all this down later on. Tariqa, but I'll leave some space for it. Thank you. There we go. Create a whole page for this. And we have Marifa as well. One of the doors of Sufism. Excellent, excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Yes, great stuff, Cynthia. Thank you. And I'll get that scribbled in. In fact, I'll clear off my chapter 13 page. I'll write it on another page, and I'll get that scribbled in later. I'll have to have a good reread of it. It's very interesting. Thank you. Excellent stuff. To clarify, then, Tariq is source of the boy's name Tariq, but it's one of the 4 doors of Sufism, Sufi Islam. And again, that Marifa term, I suppose, is similar to gnosis, isn't it? And in this case refers to experiential knowledge, which works certainly with Muriz being this judge, if you like, of this place, that he's the one guy that has knowledge, experience, etc. Experiential knowledge. Oh, I'm going to hit all sorts of stuff. So excellent work. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Much appreciated. Now, let's see, where do we get to? Gee, very fast. I've scribbled that in. That needs purple highlighter. Right. Thank you. Blah, 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 blah. Great stuff. Excellent. Now, let's see. Okay, yeah, I know where we stopped. I know where we stopped, actually. Sorry. So here we are. I thank my father, Assan said he took a short step forward. I accept manhood among the cast out. This water is our water. And again, this is all ritual. As he finished speaking, the youth crossed to the captive, starting on the left. He gripped the man's hair and drove the crisp knife up under the chin into the brain. It was skillfully done to spill the minimum blood. Only the one soft-featured city Fremen protested, squalling as the youth grabbed his hair. The others spat at Assan Tariq in the old way. And again, the old way is here. Saying by this, see how little I value my water when it is taken by animals. Pardon me, and again, animals is a word that we hear a lot in Dune. Interestingly enough, I had no idea what the word squalling meant. And I thought it was squealing, but it was squall. And so I looked it up. Squalls, that's a great word, by the way. Squalling is a really old-fashioned word for squealing, if you like, in terms of the cries that a baby makes. Just go on and on and on, noisy and continuous, basically. Squalling, to cry like a baby noisily and continuously. That's a great word. Excellent stuff. Yes, and so these other Fremen spit at Assan Tariq. Of course, usually when we see Fremen spitting, it's giving moisture to the dead. It's a sign of respect, isn't it? And I suppose even within, we're talking about religious law. Religion and law going hand in hand. The idea of spitting, has great significance within Fremen society. Is part of the ritual involving the dead, if you like, to give them water, in a sense, to the afterlife, in a funny kind of way. Here we've got an inversion of that, where these desert Fremen know they're going to die, unlike, I suppose, the soft-featured townsmen who are trying to get their way out of this. The Fremen here are more resigned. They know they're going to die, and they spit. They don't struggle or anything like that. They know what's coming, but they give up their water, and by doing so, we're told this is another old way. They say, see how little I value my water when it is taken by animals. An animal often means a certain type of thing. I often take the word animal when it's referring to other humans within the Dune series as psychopaths of some kind. Pardon me. Anyway, there we go. 6 skulls for Jacurutu. Excuse me a wee second, folks. Get some honey. Oh, that's better. Pardon me. Julian saying to make Fremen spit in disgust is a major cultural deal. Yeah, it goes against everything that we've heard about them before. Right off the bat with Stilgar spitting with Leto, this it's a whole sign of respect, this kind of thing. And especially with water being so precious, it is a big thing, isn't it? It's a big deal in their culture. And just this guy, and I suppose that's the thing. It's a thing that we could understand outside of Fremen culture. If somebody was about to execute you, you'd happily spit in their face, wouldn't you? But it doesn't have that level of significance. It's just to show contempt, really. But this would be contempt on a whole other level, I suppose. Julian said, to Fremen and brutally hardy people, the kind of violence violation is ultimately dehumanizing and despiritualizing. Yeah. But this is one man's religion is another man's thing, this kind of thing. This is being done as a ritual. It's been passed down. We get the sense that Jacurutu is something that happened long in the past. Clearly they've managed to survive in some small way, rebuild, hide away from the other Fremen. And now they've got tourists wandering in. By the way, with my little skulls, what I've written here are the blue ones are Fremen guides. These orange ones are soft Fremen city dwellers. And I've written religious tourists and Fremen guides killed by Assan Tariq. But this is what I suppose what we're seeing is Arakan tourism gone very badly wrong. And quite possibly, can you imagine going to some country or something or some place and going, have you heard the stories about Castle Crom or this kind of thing? Oh, hi, shall we go and have a visit? And then you go visit the place and then someone murders you for it. It's it's that kind of thing. Not that Castle Crom's that kind of thing. I probably shouldn't use that as an example, but you get my drift, if you know what I mean. But they pretty much are religious tourists, aren't they? They're pilgrims, maybe. Looking to try. Oh, this is all about the old ways, by the way. Muriz talks about the old ways. The soft-featured Fremen city dwellers talk about embracing the old ways, and that's why they're here. And finally, we get here's some old ways for you. A bit of spitting by these proper desert-dwelling Fremen. So it's quite a brutal little thing. When it was done, and for the reasons, by the way. The reasons are, if you'd heard this, you'd just go, oh my God, I'm being killed by madmen. These guys are loons. He thinks we're going to... What was it? Bear with me a second that we're going to protect, you're going to sniff out demons for us. Bear with me a second, folks. So I just want to quickly highlight something there. I forgot the cast out. There we go. Special test for manhood. So again, it's a hell of a test of manhood to force on your child, really, isn't it? Bear with me a second. There we go. There it is. Your father gives you 6 of them. So they always water. Your father gives you 6 of them. They're a gift from the father to the son. Their water is ours. Their shades will warn you of demons. They will be your slaves when you cross over into the Amal al-Maithal. What do you say to that, my son? Happy. It was making me think about it just in terms of that, and rights of manhood and all of this kind of stuff and rituals and things or traditions, if you like. And that my son just passed his driving test. He passed his what do you call it? The theory test a wee while back, but it was only about a couple of weeks ago he passed. Actually, it's just coming up to 2 weeks, I think, but he passed his driving test on the Saturday, and he got it first go. And I've given him his first car. as much as it's maybe not a that kind of thing in a sense, but in some ways it is a rite of passage, if you like. For young men and young women to get their driving test and to get their first motor. And whenever my dad gave me my first car as a present, it cost £400, and it was an Austin Allegro. And I just kind of having gone through that cycle of life, if you like, I kind of thought it was important for me to just give him an old banger, just a cheap first car. It's my car actually, but that was a rite of passage, a rite of manhood, and it sure as hell beats the shit out of this kind of stuff. It's time for you to grow up, son. Here's 6 men for you to murder, so that their ghosts will follow you about in life and warn you of demons. Like, hey, look out, there's a demon. And then whenever you pass over, they'll be your slaves in the afterlife, and it's pretty cookie stuff. And I think you'd be pretty annoyed to be murdered by somebody like that, I think. So when it was done, it's not too gratuitous, but it's brutal enough, I think. And at the same time, I prefer that, in this day and age, you'll get all sorts of writers who would gruesomely describe each of those 6 murders in detail, and it's completely unnecessary. It's brutal enough, it's pointless enough, it's mad enough, if you like, it's religious enough. And it has the minimum, and we're done. And only one of them kind of screams a bit, and that's it. They're over, it's over. And we're told when it was done, Muriz clapped his hands once. Attendants came and began removing the bodies, taking them to the death still where they could be rendered for the water. I thought the death still was in the room. To be honest with you, I thought it was in my own head. I thought this was a little bit funny because I did a little map, if you like, of what was going on, and there's of the death still in the chamber. There you go, and I just drew it there next to those guys. So it's almost as if these guys, to me, I was having a bit of fun with this, but maybe these attendants came in, picked up the bodies and walked them 2 feet. Didn't seem to be taking them very far. Sorry, being silly. But there you go. When it was done, Muriz clapped his hands once. Attendants came and began removing the bodies, taking them to the death still where they could be rendered for their water. Muriz arose, looked at his son who stood breathing deeply, watching the attendants remove the bodies. Now you're a man, Muriz said. The water of our enemies will feed slaves and my son. Assan Tariq turned an alert and pouncing look upon his father. The youth's lips were drawn back in a tight smile. The preacher must not know of this, Muriz said. I understand, father. You did it well, Muriz said. Those who stumble upon Shuloch should not survive. As you say, father, you're entrusted with important duties, Muriz said. I am proud of you. There we go. I've just put at the bottom in big letters, sins of the father, if you like. One of the themes, I suppose, one of the motifs within the Dune series is that the sins of the father can be the sins of the son, if you like, that we inflict upon our offspring all the nonsense that we have to deal with ourselves instead of giving them a break from it, if you like. The vendettas and this kind of thing. And this seems to be some kind of religious vendetta as well, whatever they're up to. But it's an interesting wee chapter. That's it, folks, by the way. Ritual murder and again, our tension is building, our suspense is building. And of course, we're thinking, oh, this kid's going to be, more, the preacher must not know. This kid's his guide, this kid has just become a murderer. And I suppose it's interesting with Assan Tariq that you get the sense that he's very nervous. He's turmoil boiling, as we put it earlier on. And as he goes through the tensions in his voice, etc. I cannot, you can see that he's clearly nervous and maybe possibly not wanting to do this to begin with, but he goes through it and he emerges he goes in as a 14-year-old boy and he emerges a 14-year-old man, I suppose is the sense that I got from it, having murdered these people. Um, his son, who stood breathing deep in the attendance, 6 people ritualistically. So that's pretty horrific. Yes, indeed. Oh, nearly burnt my hand there. So yes, indeed, a short little chapter. Quite, oh dear. And if you kind of, again, a very sort of, just a very sort of pointless murder, isn't it? 6 murders. And it brings in this kind of level of, oh, what's going on here? We've got threats from different directions. We see that they seem to be connected to with whatever plot when Sissy is up with her Laza tigers, etc. The preacher seems to be heading here. Leto the second is going to be heading here. And if this is Jacurutu, the siege that's now called Shuloch, and it would kind of make sense. We have some changes in place names throughout the Dune series. Names transform. They're not going to want to, if this is the same sort of siege, at the very least, they wouldn't go about calling it Jacurutu. This place where we killed all the children. But we've kept the same name. I get that sense of it, But yeah, it's there we go. It's a ritualistic little. What did I call it? The ritual of manhood and murder. And this place is, and it's a weird way to look at it, isn't it? This is how a father brings his son into manhood. I found 6 people who accidentally discovered where we lived, execute them and take their water. And the demons. I wonder what the demon thing is about. It's interesting, spirits and demonology. There was something else that I was making a wee note of earlier, and where was it? It was to do with Typhoon Struggle, Kralizak, and Muriz calls it. He says Kralizak, the Typhoon Struggle, lives in our hearts. And I was looking at the etymology of the word, depending on where you think it comes from. But I kind of so it was. Let me just look it up actually, very quickly on Wikipedia. I need the bookmark that. Let me see. I've got a wee Dune bookmark. Right. There you go. Bosh. Let's see. Typhoon. Let's have a look. Now, I was thinking on the monster Typhon, but not to be confused with Typhoo or Typhon. Let's open Typhon up in another link. Now, let's see. Etymology. Suggests the etymology of Typhoon is either Chinese or Persian, Hindustani in origin. Now, just to word meaning winds which long last. Pardon me. First attested in 1124 in China. Let me see. Blah blah blah. Right now, on down. Some English linguists propose the English word typhoon traced to the Cantonese pronunciation typhon. Blah blah blah. Alternatively, Persian dictionaries propose that typhoon derived from tufan, meaning storm in Persian and Hindustani. The root of tufan possibly traces to the ancient Greek mythological creature Typhon. In French, Typhon was attested as storm in 1504, etc. So just in terms of that, Typhon, and possibly just things to do with the god Ember himself. There are 2, being a wormy type chap, but just in relation to gigantic monster serpents from Greek mythology, we've kind of got 2 really big ones. One is Typhon and the other one's Python. Now, Typhon, I'll just read you quickly. I suppose I can maybe dig out I can dig this stuff out and read it for you, actually. There's no references here, but it's Hesiod and stuff like that, isn't it? Let's see. It was a monstrous serpentine giant and one of the deadliest creatures in Greek mythology. According to Hesiod, Typhon was the son of Gaia and Tartarus. However, one source has Typhon as the son of Hera alone, while another makes Typhon the offspring of Cronus. Typhon and his mate Echidna were the progenitors of many famous monsters. There's no references here. Typhon attempted to overthrow Zeus for the supremacy of the cosmos. The 2 fought a cataclysmic battle, which Zeus finally won with the aid of his thunderbolts. Defeated, Typhon was cast into Tartarus or buried underneath Mount Etna, or in later accounts, the island of Ischia. Typhon mythology is part of the Greek succession myth, which explained how Zeus came to rule the gods. Typhon's story is also connected with that of Python, which is the serpent killed by Apollo, and both stories probably derived from several Near Eastern antecedents. Typhon was from 500 BC, also identified with the Egyptian god of destruction Set, and in later accounts, Typhon was often confused with the giants. Pardon me. There you go. And I just started considering, big serpents and things like that. Let's see. How does Hesiod describe him? Typhon's terrible, outrageous, and lawless, immensely powerful, and on his shoulder were 100 snakeheads that emitted fire and every kind of noise. And Python, I suppose, interesting enough with Apollo, etc., is one of the characters that Paul Atreides is heavily based on, is Apollo. Sorry, pardon me. Where are we? Just having a wee quick look at something here. Oh, not to worry about it. I actually have a wee nosy into that. Sometimes I dig out some of the stuff from books from Greek mythology and read it to you, so I'll maybe have a wee think about that, just the serpents and stuff. And I also thought I'd maybe try and see if I could find, as we're approaching the God Emperor, just let me just write this down: Python, Typhon, and Crom. I want to see if I can maybe find some stuff on them for you, just to sort of give you just what the Greeks thought about it, from stuff from Apollodorus, etc., etc. Often, but that's Mount Etna, those kind of volcano myths, this kind of thing. Often the serpent is imprisoned underground and it's shaking. It's quite cool. Let me just catch up with your comments here, folks. Julie was saying to make friends spit is discussed as a major cultural deal. The feminine are brutal, hardy people. That kind of violence violation is ultimately dehumanizing and despiritualizing. Carl says their habit of killing anyone they run across reminds me of the dead Pirate Roberts, laughing out loud. Yes, indeed. To become the next Dread Pirate Roberts. I watched The Princess Bride not too long ago, Carlos. With my wife, and she'd never seen it. I adore it, and she loves it. I think it's a great film. Book as well. I wonder, did that book survive? I don't know. I had a copy of The Princess Bride somewhere, but I bought it for my mum. Actually, it was a gift to her, but I was just wondering if it's still around somewhere. I must have a nosy for it. That would be worth having a tinker at. Pardon me. So this is earlier. Muriz tells Tariq that the shades of the 6 men he kills will be his guardians. I wonder about these qualities of these shades. Were they chosen specifically to create the right kind of guards? That's what I was wondering about. The way it puts it is, would you guard that person if he killed you? But it says their shades will warn you of demons. Full stop, and then they'll be your slaves when you cross over into the Alamite. When you cross over, so in this life they'll warn you about demons. But it could be, that's kind of why I joked. Oh, here, look out! Here comes a demon. What good is that? It gives you like a few seconds warning or something. Or they could be cheeky shades. I was thinking, Cynthia, that they'll warn you about the demon just about a second before it rips your head off. Look out, demon! But certainly, at some sort of level, I would think that that their spirits would not be happy about such a thing. It's a very interesting way to think that that you could own people in life, that you could own their souls in an afterlife as well. It is quite bizarre. Religious possession of, particularly was it met with men getting to possess women's souls, this kind of thing. It's bonkers, isn't it? I always thought we were talking about Monkey. Was it Monkey? Journey to the West? And I'm running from memory here, but I'm pretty sure that the beginning of the book, in relation to the priest, is it I think it's that the Emperor of China comes to find this family. Just in terms of how that kind of sense of afterlife works, if you see what I mean, and it's that he's the richest man in the world, pretty much. Take it as that, and the way it works within, from what I understood of it, is because of that. When he passes and dies, and because goes into the afterlife, he'll be the poorest man in the afterlife, and so he seeks out the people who are poorest in this world, because in that sense that they will be the richest, they will have the greatest. They'll be the most wealthy. They'll rule. They'll be the equivalent of him in the afterlife, and he gives them half of his wealth. Which whenever I remembered that, I think he gives them a lot of his wealth, something like that, and adopts. It's to do with the character that would be Tripitaka. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to have to read it again. But it's the kind of, he's trying to kind of pay off a spiritual debt in that sense. Does that make sense? And the funny thing is that if you took it. I kind of remember reading about this and thinking about the logic of it, was that his own selfishness in that sense of worrying about, because he's so rich in this life, because he gives them half of his wealth, it means that surely they're not going to be as wealthy in the afterlife. It depends on how you look at it, you know. I was wondering who would go there. Teleosto was, hey Babs. I thought we had Typhoon, and Typhoon. Yes, indeed, a Typhoon struggle trying to find a favorite tea bag. Oh dear, oh dear. Let's see. I missed a couple of comments. Did I? So, but yeah, it's the shades of the 6 men he kills will be his guardian. You wonder about the quality of these shades. Why were they chosen specifically to create the right kind of guards? No, I genuinely think that these are the 4 tourist guides. These Fremen are 4 guides who brought these 2 city dwellers, and they've accidentally erred into this place by mucking around in the deep desert a bit. I think, you know. But I think anybody would do that. They're just slaves, you know. It's interesting what you're saying about that as well, Cynthia, because we're told that the water of our enemies will feed slaves. So, I was wondering, is that because they spat at them or something like that? But the water of our enemy will feed slaves. That's what the water's going towards. It's not. I'm wondering, is it not good enough for them or something like that? And if it's feed slaves and that they will be slaves in the afterlife, I don't know. Makes you think a fair bit about it, doesn't it? It's a bizarre practice. It's ritualist. It's human sacrifice. And again, I suppose a lot of that kind of sacrifice is, if you think about the Egyptian pharaohs, this kind of thing. I want my slaves to be there in the afterlife. You know. Wasn't somebody tried to have their dog executed recently because if I die, some famous person, I think they died. I think it was a French actor, was it? And I think as well, he said, if I die, my dog's still alive, I want it killed because I want it to join me. And then, poor dog, this kind of thing. That's just with a pet, you know. But yes, indeed, to kill your slaves and stuff, so that they're your slaves in the afterlife. That your sense of possession over another human being will carry on into a divine paradise that's ruled by a benevolent being, as if he let you in for that. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose same time Assan must be. And if I just killed 6 people like this, I'd be pretty shook up about it. I'd imagine I wouldn't be happy about it at all. And imagine there'll be plenty of adrenaline and stuff, and I think there is a little bit of that hanging over with Assan when he turns to look at his father. You know, that pouncing, wasn't it? That pouncing look or something like that. Where was it? Turned an alert and pouncing look upon his father. You know, pounce. But the smile, there's, did he enjoy the killing, I suppose? And is that what these guys are about? You know, the caster, have they taken on their kind of I suppose if the Fremen see them as the damned and this kind of thing, and the cast out, they're particularly, aren't they? You know, I suppose associated with cannibalism, water theft, vampirism, so far, this kind of thing. The thing of nightmares, if you like, but again, they're just people, aren't they? But there you go. Carlos is saying, strange how death is swathed in ritual in almost all societies. It is, yeah. You know, I've had my own experience of it plenty, Carlos. You know, and Ireland's a funny place for death and things like that. If anybody wants to kind of get a good humorous sense on how the Irish deal with death, if you like, there's a good, if you on the Pirate Bay at the very least, there's a few Dave Allen compilation shows, comedies and stuff like that. But he would do mock the Irish priesthood, the Irish church, and the Irish funerals in particular. I think was he would describe an Irish week as the best, something like it's the best day of your life, but you're dead, isn't it? And he says, "If all this food and drink laid out for you there, and you know, and you've paid for it all, and you don't get the drink, and everyone's standing around going, here's to your health," this kind of thing. But Dave Allen's a pretty funny for that kind of thing, I think. But yes, indeed. You know, ritual and practice, and it's all by the way, ka-ching. I think a lot of it, certainly in this society, it's an awful expensive thing to throw somebody in a hole in the ground in this country. It's ridiculous, you know. So they say when Paul killed Jamis, his first killing in combat, Jessica confronts him to keep the experience from going to his head. Not Muriz. Yes, that's a good point, Cynthia. I was wondering about that, Muriz meaning mouse. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, it's and possibly in some ways, you know, the other thing I'm wondering about is this. I suppose there's that kind of Abraham and Isaac parallel, possibly. Not that it's the same thing. This is a parent going out to kill their child, if you like, as a test. What was the other one I was thinking of? I suppose. I was thinking about the Gom Jabars themselves, and that also that Assan Tariq is again coming of age, probably at the same time that Paul himself came of age. Here's a test. The question I was going to ask myself is, what would he do if he did? What would happen to Assan Tariq if he did not kill these men? If he refused, or if he couldn't do it, would his father kill him? Is there a level? I was wondering, is there a level of threat to Assan here if he doesn't go through with the ritual? But he understands, Father, as you say, Father, he's obedient. He follows the words of the ritual. He doesn't seem to stumble over them, as his father says. Actually, that's the bad guy stumbling over it. Sorry, no pun, no double meaning intended there. And the other thing that he says, there must have been some time to sort of go through. I have reflected long upon that night when men came and murdered our people. So it's a tradition of murder and revenge, if you like. They owe us water, and water is still this seemingly as precious to them, perhaps. Well, maybe not as precious to them as to the Fremen, because they're happy to steal it, aren't they? But demons, yes, indeed. My son too will be trained to detect demons the old ways. How's that going to work, I wonder? But he's got six ghosts on his back, 6 shades to spot them for him. And how much of that is going to work, I don't know. But there you go, folks. Yes, indeed. That's an interesting chapter. A nice short one, by the way. Not too much work for me tonight, but I've got a few questions, etymologically speaking, that need answered. I'm just trying to do some work on these words. Let's say we found something for Kralazak. We've got something for Jacurutu. Shuloch, I was kind of going with possibly Shuloch or Shale, which kind of, again, that kind of underworld kind of idea, which kind of got me into the serpents, Typhon and Python and things like that. but that was a wee bit of sort of confusing, and I was just seeing what other people kind of had anything written about it, but I've got not much there. I'll have to do a bit more work. It could be just I don't know, Frank. It could be something really, really obscure. But there we go, folks. Chapter 13. Our next one's going to be quite a chunky one, I think. Lots of work for me, no doubt. Let's have a wee look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. 10. Oh, biggest one so far. 15. I got 15 pages here, pretty much. So that's going to be a chunk of work. We'll have to try and do our best to get it done on time, folks. Yes, this is another interesting chapter, isn't it? This is Ganima and Leto. So that's a good one to have a good chapter 13. We're going along rightly. Let's see, when's our next little cluster of short chapters? Not for a while. Not to 26 and 27. So we'll probably just be working ahead one chapter at a time up until we get to those, But definitely a very, very good chapter, building tension, giving us tidbits about Jacurutu, hinting and suggesting, sort of a kind of Fremen genocide in the past against the Siege who steal water, and who kill people, I suppose, to get their water. Isn't that the other suggestion? And it's a bit, but yeah, that's a bit freaky. That very cold, very casual religious ritual murder by a 14-year-old boy, and that boy at the end of the chapter, we're supposed to call him a 14-year-old man now. Who will one day become a judge of his siege. Gets you thinking, doesn't it? But yes, indeed. Jessica confronts him to keep the experience from going to his head, not Muriz. It's a feeling of power, and he's taking lives. He's the man. They're trussed up tight with him. God knows what. They're bound completely, unable to move. No, can't offer resistance. All they can do is spit at him. Isn't he a big man? But it's for most likely for religious reasons and part of this Fremen sect, shall we call them? And again, as I said, my memory is not great of this book, and I've got that many things on the go at the minute. I'm not getting a chance to sort of pile on ahead, mainly because I'm reading different things, but I'm almost halfway through this now, and I'm loving this. This is great. Galactic Patrol. So one of those kind of lifelong dreams is to get through. I've been trying to read the Lensman books since I was a kid, and never been able to get a hold of them in the right order just to read them properly. So quite enjoying that. This is book 3, but I think it's book 1 of the originals. And it's great so far. Even things like the titles, you think about things like The Empire Strikes Back. Here we've got The Quarry Strike Back, and certainly things that flying around like Death Stars, quite a lot of them in the first couple of books, But I'm enjoying the Landsman series. If anybody's not really heard much of them or know of them, this is sort of proper quality old 1930s science fiction royalty, if you like, by E. Doc Smith. They're great. Sort of real American engineering paradigm, boys' own adventure stories, if you like. But yeah, good fun, But I'll not be jumping ahead with the Dune books until I get through them, I think, And it's a good thing, I think, because I'm starting to see that we've talked about. There's quite a few influences from the Landsman series and other science fiction, but particularly things like Dune and Star Wars, all sorts and stuff like that, And a big influence on Heinlein, apparently, as a writer. Yeah, kind of enjoying it as well. Yes, indeed. Well, listen, folks, cough medicine ahoy. I'm off to the dentist early in the morning again. All sorts of things going on. So hopefully, Cynthia saying thanks as always, Doc. No worries, Cynthia. Thank you very much as always yourself. Thank you everyone for your comments and questions and remarks, etc. Hopefully we'll be back as usual fingers crossed we get the work done on Thursday at 10 p.m. And as usual, if it doesn't happen, it'll be the day after, Friday 10 p.m. But we're going to try for Thursday as often as we can, try and get it to a regular slot. Just life's being a wee bit busy, but we're getting there. We're getting better too. I'm not coughing and spluttering quite as much, I think. So there we go, folks. I'll say thank you very much. Look after yourself as always. Take it easy, and we'll be back real soon, hopefully. And yeah, thanks very much. We'll be back for Chapter 13 on Thursday, hopefully at 10 p.m. GMT +1. I don't think we'll be having too many more GMT +1s. I think we'll be losing that. Wonder when the clocks get sorted, but we're losing that soon. So I'll let you know. Probably, I'm sure you'll know yourselves whenever we shift to GMT again, you know. But anyway, I'm rambling as always. So I'll say good night, folks. Take it easy. Look after yourselves. Be safe. Have fun. And keep up your sci-fi fixes of Frank Herbert's Children of Dune, etc. I hope you're enjoying it. All the best now. Good night. Bye-bye. There we go.